walk us through kind of where you started in your guys' life, from going back to when you guys were younger to kind of working your guys' previous jobs, and then kind of go into, starting the company, and then, kind of just what happened from there.
All right, so you want me to tell my whole life? All right. Yeah. You can go first.
Well, I think the main difference between the way that you grew up, Andrew, and the way that I grew up is that we just got the internet at age 10, age 12, and so we didn't have any entrepreneurial influences besides folks who already had established small businesses and that sort of thing in town. And so I thought that I had to go to college. That's what everybody told me. You have to go to college. And there wasn't very much evidence on the internet besides that was basically it. So I was graduating high school at, I was 17 years old, and they asked you what you wanted to go for in college. And then I graduated at 18, and I didn't even develop entrepreneur values until maybe I was 21. I remember getting this book from this old man. It was, he just seemed super happy, and it was over a January internship I was doing for college. I was studying exercise science. He gave me the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Mm-hmm. And then shortly after that, I found out that I actually did like reading. I thought that I hated reading. I just wasn't reading the right stuff. And what's crazy about high school and college is that they give you all of these classics from authors who became famous after they died. Mm-hmm. And it was all fiction, or it was all supposed to be an allegory or symbolic, and they would push all this meaning out about what the books meant and that sort of thing. But it wasn't practical advice that could actually help you create freedom in your life. So I learned, even though I was going for exercise science, I learned that what I really actually enjoyed was developing myself. And so Elliot Hulse, I was watching a lot of his videos. He said, turn your car into a library, and started reading almost all the books that he recommended, like Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now, The Secret. Bob Proctor was a big part of that one. One of Dakota's favorites was Think and Grow Rich. And so those books kind of expand your mind. And then the big one for me, after I got done with college, I went on to AmeriCorps. I was in a Barnes & Noble. I saw the Dave Ramsey book right there, but I was like, I don't know. Something tells me that guy doesn't know. He doesn't have the answer. Because I had options. It was either Dave Ramsey, Tony Robbins, which would have been okay, and then I saw this Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and the title grabbed me, and I was like, huh. And after I read the foreword and stuff, I was like, oh, this guy's going to give me the secret. He's going to talk about what the poor and the middle class do and what the rich do and how they're different. And so after I read that book, I was like, wow. Passive residual income, and there's only 4 vehicles to do that, and the main one that allows you leverage that you can get started with little to no money is real estate. Yeah. And so then I just started reading everything real estate. I had no interest in flipping houses, no interest in fixing things up. I was painting Dakota's closet at his house and completely missed a room, and he was like, did you paint this room? And I was like, yes. Why do you keep asking me? He's like, it does look like it got painted. So that I messed that one up. That room actually never did get painted. But I didn't have any interest in houses. It just happened to be that it's one of the best vehicles for creating wealth and freedom, and that was what I was on the pursuit of.
Nice.
Yeah. So for me, I grew up real poor. Real poor, couldn't eat, different things like that, especially from, after foster care mostly. So, I grew up in a interesting household with 2 sisters mostly. So, I was mostly with my mom, but I was with my 2 sisters the whole time. So I had a lot of female influence on my life, which either made me more open to females, which is funny because I thought I understood females more, but also it could have made me more masculine in the sense of I had to become more dominant because I felt all right, man, I got to be the man of the house and I got to step up for, my family and stuff like that. So it's interesting how it can go one of 2 ways. It can either make you more dominant or, have you be more open to feminine energy. Yeah. So I feel like it did a little bit of both for me, but yeah, I grew up in foster care for a couple years, and we moved around a lot. So there was not a whole lot of people that were around me that, were the same, except for my sisters. And yeah, from there, I mean, after we got back, again, it was super rough. We were super poor, didn't have a whole lot of heat in the wintertime, had to share bathtub with like 6 kids. It was insane. Didn't have heating in the house, and then a lot of the houses that we see that are like real rough and like there's no flooring, there's literally no kitchen, like countertops, no sink, stuff like that. That was how we grew up. And then also I remember washing the dishes. The way that we washed our dishes in our house was this big metal bowl that you just wash the dishes in. So it's like that bowl got real freaking dirty because you just go put it in like a different sink, but you couldn't wash the dishes. So you got that one, you put some soap in it, and then you clean the dishes in that bowl. So that was mostly my childhood, was just growing up extremely poor. And then I kind of got rebellious in the sense of like, I don't want to listen to my parents. I don't want to listen to teachers, different things like that, people who told me certain things. And then I look at their life, I'm like, I don't know if you actually know what you're talking about. And I remember everybody was always like, eventually one day you're going to look back and say that your parents were right. And I'm like, I still haven't gotten there. Because I still think that like they taught a lot of great lessons. There's a lot of things that they did teach that were right, but at the same time, I still don't be like, oh yeah, they had it figured out and they were telling me all this stuff. It's like, nah, I think they were almost just as wrong as I thought they were, and I think that I still helped them with different things. But people they might be mad at me for saying that, but it is what it is. Like I really do feel that way. Of like it's not like I'm like, oh, now I think my parents do know everything, and like nah, I can tell how broken, I mean, realistically, we all are. But anyway, from there, going to high school, I did okay in high school. Got, mostly A's and B's, and then sometimes I get a C+, and then I go talk to the teacher, be like, all right, how am I going to get this to a B-? Because, I want to get those A's and B's, and so I'd negotiate with them. Most of the time it worked. And anyway, and then I got kicked out, which is funny. I got kicked out 2 of my years. So I got kicked out my sophomore year and my senior year, and then I kept going to alternative school. Then I just flew through these tests because I was like, dude, screw this. I just want to be done. So ended up getting it all done, graduated at 17. Then went really, really hard into the workforce. And I just started working like physical labor, doing any job I could do. Had multiple jobs, 3 jobs at a time, just doing whatever I could to survive. Was making like $12 an hour or 60 hours a week. It was insane. And yeah, from there, got into car sales eventually one winter. And then after car sales, like I started reading books like what Tony talked about, Think and Grow Rich, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Have you guys read that, by the way?
I have not read that one yet, no.
That is like,
never read it.
That one is like the best one. So if you guys can read that one, I would literally put that as like the #1 book that every single person needs to read.
Yeah, I'd say Rich Dad Poor Dad is an introduction to wealth creation, thinking differently, understanding leverage, knowing what the wealthy do that the poor and the middle class don't.
Yeah.
How to win friends and influence people is an introduction to personal development. Like it's the best introduction to it.
I like how to connect with people and love and.
Yeah, I liked Rich Dad Poor Dad just because like I think that was like the 2nd or 3rd book I read. I think the first one I read was 10 Pillars of Wealth, and then like the next one was like Millionaire Fastlane. There was like a sequence of 5 books that my uncle had me read, but Rich Dad Poor Dad was really good. But that's surprising too, is just because like that one, like you said, How to Win Friends and Influence is just like. I'm in sales now, and then like sales background. But like when I first got here, I did not know how to talk to a single person, build a relationship with somebody, which like I still struggle with that outside of sales, and like that I'm really good at putting that personality on to like connect with somebody when we're purchasing their property or like building that relationship. But like that's something I still struggle with outside, is like building relationships with just like normal human beings or just day-to-day people. So that's something I like would love to read, or just like, like you said, like your car is a vehicle, and more listen to like Jeremy Minor more. He just talks about like that stuff too. Like he preaches that, and I've just been like doing that now every single day before work, like just reading books now or listening to books in the car, listening to podcasts and like doing that stuff because like I want to grow my, level of thinking or like what I say. So.
Yep.
I hope your car is a vehicle.
Yeah.
I mean, your car is a library.
Yeah, library. It's the vehicle. The library, the vehicle that can,
Yeah, learning vehicle.
Yeah, learning vehicle, that's better. But
Yeah, but I would say that should definitely be at the top of people's list to read is How to Win Friends and Influence people. Yeah,
Okay.
but then